I've had a wonderful life. I've had thousands of friends, and I've had an exciting and adventurous and gratifying existence. So I was surprisingly at ease, much more so than my wife was. But now I feel, that it's in the hands of God, whom I worship, and I'll be prepared for anything that comes.
And what a God-fearing man he was. Fox 13 News comes on the air tonight at 9 with breaking news. Former President Jimmy Carter has died. Thanks for joining us at 9. I'm Daniel Wilkerson. While no cause of death has been given at this time, we do know the 39th president has been ill for a while. Carter entered hospice care in his home nearly 2 years ago. He had previously battled brain cancer and melanoma. But despite all of his health battles, Carter turned 100 years old 2 months ago and was the longest living president in American history. We have live coverage tonight on former President Carter's impact he made across the world, including right here in Memphis. Carter and his wife Rosalynn were longtime supporters of the nonprofit organization Habitat for Humanity, and their mission of providing safe and affordable housing to people around the world was quite evident. Fox 13's Lakia Scott is sharing the impact Carter's work with Habitat for Humanity left on the city of Memphis. But first tonight, we want to take a look back on Carter's life and legacy.
From a small-town Georgia peanut farmer to President of the United States.
I, Jimmy Carter.
Former President Jimmy Carter aspired to make government competent and compassionate.
Social and political progress has been based on one fundamental principle: the value and importance of the individual.
After 7 years as a naval officer, he returned home to Plains, Georgia before entering into politics, eventually being elected governor of Georgia using the platform to speak out against racism.
I say to you quite frankly that the time for racial discrimination is over.
Becoming president in 1977, his achievements were notable, including the Camp David Peace Accords in 1978, the framework for peace between Israel and Egypt. But there were dark days too, including the Iran hostage crisis that, together with the continuing inflation at home and an energy shortage, contributed to Ronald Reagan's landslide victory in 1980. Former President Jimmy Carter and his wife Rosalynn Carter founded the Carter Center in 1982, promoting peace, democracy, human rights, and economic and social development all over the world. In 2002, his work earned him the Nobel Peace Prize. A devout Christian, his life was largely defined by his faith and service to others. He spent decades teaching Sunday school in a small town where he was raised and volunteering with Habitat for Humanity. The longest living president in American history,
I love you,
leaves behind a legacy of love.
Well, the best thing I ever did was marrying Rosalynn.
Smart man there. It was just over a year ago when the wife of Jimmy Carter died. Former First Lady Rosalynn Carter died at the age of 96 at her home in Plains, Georgia. Her passing came just days after she was put into hospice care. She was a staunch advocate for mental health and became the first Lady to maintain an office in the East Wing of the White House. The Carters were married for 77 years.
Rosa and I enjoy doing this. It's a kind of a vacation for us every year. Hardworking, unpredictable, adventurous, challenging, but always gratifying. And as I've said, for 30 years, we've never have been on the Habitat project that we didn't get more out of it than we put into it.
You heard them say they spent their vacation serving others. As we remember our 39th president, we delve into why many called him a humanitarian. President Jimmy Carter and his wife, First Lady Rosalynn Carter, did work to make sure people could have a decent place to live. Fox 13's Lakia Scott joins us live in studio tonight. Lakia, you've learned more about the former president's philanthropic efforts. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Daniel. I did, and those I spoke with today used one word in common to describe President Jimmy Carter: humble. He is said to have been for the people, and he shared some of those efforts right here in the Bluff City, being an advocate for providing homes that people can afford.
He personally worked on our home, personally.
A Memphis family recalls the day their Habitat for Humanity home was built just for them. The family says former President Jimmy Carter literally helped build their dream family home from the bottom up.
When you say personally worked on your home, what do you mean?
This is the only home we worked on with his bare hands.
We was based like by their side, do like the whole program for Habitat.
President Carter and First Lady Rosalynn Carter worked very closely with Habitat for Humanity. The couple, through the Carter Work Project, helped make affordable home ownership possible for hundreds of families around the world, including here in the Bluff City and the Bearwater Park community.
And just coming from a one-bedroom apartment and then coming to this right here is such a blessing.
Thanks to the 2016 Carter Work Project, 19 new homes were built in the Bearwater Park community. The area also benefited from multiple neighborhood beautification projects and work that improved mobility for seniors.
I consider ourselves very fortunate to have had the President and Mrs. Carter in Memphis in 2016 for an entire week. He could have been anywhere doing anything, but he chose to give the rest of his life over to raising awareness for organizations doing good in the world. We need more people like Jimmy Carter.
And Habitat for Humanity released the following statement about the passing of President Carter. It reads in part, Habitat for Humanity joins the world in mourning the death of former U.S. President Jimmy Carter, a champion for affordable and decent housing. He and Rosalynn Carter donated their time and leadership each year to build and improve homes with Habitat around the world. Daniel.
I tell you, it was something that you were able to find, that couple who had President Carter lay hands on their very home. How did you find them?
I guess we kind of lucked up, because when we got to that community, we saw so many homes. We saw dozens of homes, and we were kind of thinking, who are we going to talk to about this situation? And then we found them, and they told us that President Carter, he built their home. And, I think that was the only home in that area that he actually put his hands on.
I tell you,
so
just
very special moment there.
Yeah, just to think of the lives that he and his wife have touched. That's Lakia Scott for us in studio. Lakia, thanks. Former presidents are speaking out tonight on the passing of former President Jimmy Carter. President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden released a statement today saying, quote, "Today, America and the world lost an extraordinary leader, statesman, and humanitarian. Over 6 decades, we had the honor of calling Jimmy Carter a dear friend. But what's extraordinary about Jimmy Carter, though, is that millions of people throughout America and the world who never met him thought of him as a dear friend as well." And then President-elect Donald Trump took to Truth Social to share his condolences, saying, quote, "The challenges Jimmy faced as president came at a pivotal time for our country, and he did everything in his power to improve the lives of all Americans. For that, we all owe him a debt of gratitude," end quote. 8 years ago, former President Jimmy Carter sat down with Fox 13 Good Morning Memphis anchor Valerie Calhoun during his time here in Memphis.
And it wasn't until this January of 2016 that they realized that I was one of the 40% of the people that do respond to the medicine they gave me. So I'm doing well right now, looking forward to finishing up this week, God willing, and then going to Canada a year from now.
What a remarkable man. On Fox 13 News at 9:30, hear what the former president had to say about his health, his support for Habitat for Humanity, and his thoughts on the 2016 election. Fox 13 is continuing our coverage tonight on the death of former U.S. President Jimmy Carter. We will have more coverage on his life and legacy, the legacy he left behind throughout tonight's newscast.